Hi, it is January 10th at 11:25, and this is the first meeting of House Healthcare. We're just going to sort of move around the room, quick introductions for all of our members, introduce ourselves to each other quickly, probably just name where you represent. And then we'll go around the room and introduce some people sitting on the side of the room. So you want to start?
Lori Houghton, and I represent Essex Junction.
Wesley Goldman, I represent Wyndham 3, Rockingham, which is Fells Falls, Westminster, and Brookline. And I realize I'm really the only person from the southern part of the state. So that's a little bit unique. Yeah.
Mari Cordes, I represent Bristol, Lincoln, Moncton, and Starksboro.
Debbie Powers, I represent Barnet, Reigate, and Waterford.
I'm Topper McFawn, and I represent Barrytown and part of Williamstown.
And I'm Alyssa Black, and I represent sort of the northern part of the town of Essex.
And I'm Daisy Verbecco. I represent Winooski.
Brian Chena, Chittenden 15, part of Burlington, the Old North End, and the East District.
Wendy Critchlow, Chittenden 19, which is Colchester Bayside.
Woodland Page, I represent Newport.
Alan DeMar, represent Enosburg Falls in Montgomery.
And do we want to start with Katie? Or with Jen, sorry.
Jennifer Harvey from the Office of Legislative Counsel. Katie McLeod, Office of Legislative Counsel.
Let's go with Nolan.
Nolan Langwell, Joint Fiscal.
And oftentimes you will see in the committee room, most often, you will see our healthcare advocate. And so if our healthcare advocate would like to introduce himself and maybe talk a little bit about, you know, what you do, why you're here every single day, and how sometimes you can be a help to us.
Sure. So I'm Mike Fisher. I'm the healthcare advocate, and that's a position defined in state statute and fully funded through state government. But through an RFP process, I don't work for the state of Vermont. I work for Vermont Legal Aid. So I get to have a sort of a different perch to watch how all things healthcare work and don't work. And a little bit, me and my team get to be a little bit of a watchdog. And so I am someone who you can bother if you're just trying to figure out why something is. I am someone who it does make sense to take it in a time. I'm happy to sit with you to help you understand the lay of the land as we understand it. And the one other last thing I'll mention, and I'll spend some much more time talking about my office and what we do, but I will mention now, I'm also someone, and my team is a group that can help you with constituents. I've often felt like, you know, you get to become an expert in one area of policy, but you get questions about everything under the sun. And we can't possibly become an expert in all of them. So I am a resource on everything healthcare, and Vermont Legal Aid is a resource for much more. So I'll be around. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will just say, the Office of the Healthcare Advocate, I always think of it in terms of it's one of the only places outside of government that we fund. And I believe the mission is they work for Vermonters. And I think that through a lot of the things that they bring to us and that they watch, their advocacy on behalf of Vermonters, which oftentimes in this committee, and you will get to know lots and lots of different people, and they represent lots of interests and organizations, but I always think of the healthcare advocate they advocate on behalf of Vermonters, and that's who we serve. And make sure you get his card, because you will get constituent emails and calls and questions, and the best resource you can do is give them their phone number. So I just wanted to today basically sort of talk about a couple housekeeping things. Number one, we have committee liaisons. And so the committee liaison is somebody on our committee will choose another committee within the House and also, the counterpart sometimes in the Senate. And we ask that that person sort of keep tabs of what that particular committee is doing. If anything should cross section with healthcare, and to keep us apprised of any committees that are working on anything that, we should know about healthcare. I don't know if anyone has strong feelings about committees that they would like to be the liaison for. I often think that one of the best things is if you don't have a piece of expertise, if you have a relationship with somebody on that committee who is a trusted colleague, that sometimes you can utilize them too. So everybody be thinking about what committees they'd like. Is there anybody right now that already knows what they would like? Topper?
Human Services Committee.
Yeah. So, can I ask, not that you have asked, but one of the more difficult committees to follow is appropriations.
Sure.
I thought a natural choice would be, so I assume you can read the budget, which often is challenging. Okay, so we'll do Woody appropriations. Brian?
Unless there's someone else who has greater expertise or passion, I would like to switch this year and do Ways and Means.
Okay.
Because there's going to be a lot going on with taxation, especially and financing of healthcare and stuff. So, but if there's someone else who has greater expertise, I would defer to them. But I would like to. My backup would be corrections and institutions again, but I feel like that's a lost cause. So in terms of stopping the prison, so I'd rather not have to deal with them.
I'm gonna ask some of the veteran legislators if they have a preference first. No,
I don't think so.
I think I do have an interest in commerce only because of workforce.
all right.
Well, we should have someone there. That's
Yeah. I don't know how that'll play out, or what they're thinking about for any.
The other interests are in agriculture and energy, and I'm not sure where healthcare fits in there.
food resiliency, the food security piece.
Would you like ag?
Sure.
It's interesting that you say that. I've just been apprised that this afternoon at 1:00, and you can actually watch it on YouTube later if you prefer. I don't know what your travel is. But ag is taking testimony today on avian flu.
Oh, my God, that's a good, okay, yes.
See,
Okay.
Okay, here it is.
and there's also just food is a social determinant.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's.
And we have food deserts, I mean, there's no
Yeah.
doubt.
Do you think anybody on the new tech because of AI in healthcare?
Oh, wow.
Mari, you said that you were interested in agriculture and technology. Would you like to try to do both?
Sure.
Okay.
Was there something in specific?
AI in healthcare
Yo.
is quite a thing. I don't know if they're gonna pick that up as part of the portfolio.
Yeah.
And I think the question is, where does that belong? Because I honestly think that we should be looking at that here. It should not be siloed into commerce or tech. It should be in because AI is going to cross all sectors. You know, that would be my argument is we ask that anything with AI and healthcare at least pass through here too. But
Yeah.
whatever, that's just my perspective.
Which is a great reason to
Yeah.
have a liaison
Yeah.
to make sure that we're catching all of that.
Yeah. And I have a bill I'm working on with AI and healthcare if anyone wants to talk about it later.
I do.
It's about neurological rights.
Really, logical.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Though. I don't want to go down
I'm
that.
going, whoa.
I don't want to go down that circuit right now.
I know we got in, briefly into genetic protections around genetic information. I don't know if that's IT or not.
I think that went to commerce, didn't it?
Yes.
It did, yeah,
What went to
because
commerce?
it was life insurance
Yeah.
related.
So it was life
So,
insurance.
But the genetic stuff could
Oh, yeah, but that
go in
guy.
other places too.
I hope it wouldn't be treated as commerce or genetics.
Um,
You know?
does everybody know how to do new members? Know how to go on the website, find like committees?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to look sort of, oh, Alan, do you have a?
I got a good friend on military and general affairs.
Okay,
GovOps too, yeah.
so GovOps or housing, general housing?
Lisa Hangouts, it's,
GovOps and military affairs.
GovOps.
governor.
Okay. All right.
That makes, and you're a veteran too, right? Oh, my bad.
But, I care for him a lot.
Let's not forget, remember last year, we worked a lot on EMS. And I think that there are some recommendations and GovOps actually sort of has jurisdiction over that. So that's something that you're really gonna want to watch.
We're gonna need someone on ed.
I was just thinking about the intersection of that.
I'm happy to do it using the whole time.
That's, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm sorry, I missed Daisy,
As a previous member.
education. All right,
What were you gonna say?
what committees
As a
are we?
previous member, like she's.
Debbie, do you, yeah, we have Debbie and Wendy. And, oh, Woody's already, your appropriations.
Does Lori get one or because she was.
I think I think Lori probably will have a broad view of a lot of things that are going on. So, rather than giving her a committed space, I'm sure she will keep us apprised
I
of.
think she should be on Fish and Game.
Great. You want that?
Isn't it
Do
called
we
Nat-
need? We don't have fishing game.
No, it's
We don't
called
have-
Go resources.
Yeah, it's in the.
Oh,
No.
Natural resources.
We do have natural resources.
it's agriculture and forestry, but that's not
Oh,
fishing.
yeah,
game.
right.
Natural
Right.
resources covers fishing game.
Fish and wildlife.
Yeah, it used to be that it was a punishment. Now it's a blessing though.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that was what the technology one was separated out from. I'm
Energy and
just
technology.
sitting here,
We really need corrections covered too.
yes.
So with corrections,
Oh, cool.
Okay,
It's actually corrections and institutions, so you'll also be looking at things like secure residential, the
Yes.
recovery, any kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, so
yes.
or I mean.
it is
Actually, a
important.
lot that.
Like when we expand bed capacity, they look at that, on that committee, like in terms of psychiatric beds,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, thank you.
And you're a Medicaid auditor?
I am, how did you know that?
I looked at everybody's bios in advance.
Oh,
Into the.
I also did a background check.
Did you?
Fingerprinting. Member. That I know.
My credit score.
780, kidding, I'm saying.
yeah.
As an
So,
auditor, though.
I'm looking at
you
what we're
probably look-
missing.
We're still online, everybody.
Yeah, I know.
So, what we're missing is we're missing judiciary.
Oh.
And we're also missing, another.
We can do.
Sorry, I'm sitting here looking at our list of.
Listen.
You want to do judiciary? Oh, transportation.
That is important in terms of Medicaid cabs stuff.
What's important in terms of healthcare workers too.
Yeah,
You have also the workable communities.
Yeah.
Healthy communities and.
access to healthcare. Do you remember last year, that whole thing about transportation in the budget?
Anyone? I can do that. Or in housing, we don't have, housing is really, you know what, I think I'd like to think about those too, because housing is really, I think gonna be vital and.
I would
let me
offer to
think
do,
about that.
and if we need someone, I'm happy to do both housing and ways and means, because I'm very interested in both those things, but I'm not trying to hoard. you know, liaisonships.
So I just wanted to give, I wanted to set a couple rules.
Rules.
I know you hate rules. The first thing is that I really want people to make an effort to be on time. It's not for me. It's not even for each other. I personally find it really disrespectful to our witnesses when we don't show up on time. And when we're not here ready in our seats. You know, if we start at 9 a.m., I expect that you will have all of your things taken care of, that you're not finishing your breakfast, that you're not making tea. We had that you're seated in your seat. I just think about, I don't know how many of you actually ever testified in a committee before you came to the legislature. And I know that a lot of the people that we do have testify are people that you see every single day and they become familiar to you. But I will tell you from somebody who's outside of the legislature, it is nerve-wracking. It is terrifying. It is, people plan their lives and their days around coming here to sit in front of us. And I think that the least that we can do is we can show them the respect by showing up and being engaged and ready to listen when they get here. So I really, I realize that life happens. If you're going to be late, you need to let me know. You can text me, or in the case of anyone who doesn't have a cell phone, they can email or email the committee assistant. You know, just you have two priorities, I think, as a legislator. Your priority is to be on the floor, engaged in debate when you're representing your constituents, and the other is to be in your committee and doing the work that your constituents have elected you to do. So I ask that you prioritize being here on time. And if you're unable to make it for any reason, please let me know.
And there will be times when, like, going to other committee, having to go to other committees.
Yes, there are
I
times,
just, like,
oftentimes that you, if you introduce your own legislation, there are times where you need to go to another committee room and introduce it. There are times where you will have a meeting. I ask that you try to not to schedule meetings during committee time, but if it can't be avoided and it's important, then I ask that you just make sure that you let us know. We do have to have a quorum. We cannot go on until we have a quorum in our committee. So if you're not here on time and multiple of you, and it only takes a few, if a few of you aren't on time, that means that everybody is sitting around waiting to get started. Let's see, I'll real quickly, food and drink. Feel free to bring snacks. We often bring snacks in for committee to share. That's encouraged. Lori, if you want to still continue to bring fresh flowers from the flower shop, because I won't be doing that. And Boxcar Bakery, my personal favorite. I just ask that you not eat disruptive food when we're taking testimony, but everything else is encouraged. Potato chips, noisy packages,
Spaghetti.
I ask that
It's a snack, not your lunch.
if we are on and if we are live, that you keep any sort of food items that you have to small snacking items that don't make noise, as opposed to sitting here eating your lunch. That's all. We've got our seats. Everybody happy with their seats? All right.
I mean, this chair could be better, but.
We are in very, very tight quarters. And we all have to live in this room. This is, think of it as your family room. And I just ask that people keep their space try to contain yourself to your space, which sometimes can be hard to do.
Oh,
And try to keep your space neat and clean. And if you make a mess in your space, then, have the respect for the rest of your committee to clean up, because
Wash your
it
dishes.
looks really good right now, but I can tell you
Yeah, this
that
won't
there are times
Wash your
where,
dishes.
and I personally don't like to be surrounded by chaos. It makes me chaotic. So I'm going to continue the tradition of our previous chair. And unless someone has an objection to it, I would like to continue to use first names. Is everyone fine with that? I'm Alyssa. Just call me Alyssa and I will call you by your first name. All right? Is everybody fine?
Yes.
Brian, you okay with that? Representative Sheena?
I don't want you to call me that. I'll
Okay.
think about it. Maybe I want to come up with a committee name,
Okay.
like Altoid. No, I'm just kidding.
Just some expectations when we're taking testimony. That everybody is engaged and listening, and being respectful of all of our witnesses that come in. Even if you don't necessarily agree with everything, that we try to be respectful. I will say that there's that phrase, that recurring phrase of, there's no such thing as a dumb question, which I usually am like, oh yeah, there's lots of dumb questions. But I will say that, and I think that every veteran member around here, never, ever be afraid to ask the dumb question, because it is most often the dumb question that leads to the answer that we were all looking for in the first place, and we're all afraid to ask. So there are really no dumb questions. Utilize our staff, but please be respectful of their time, and realize that they work for 180 legislators. And imagine if you worked for 180 different bosses, that would be a lot of pressure. Please have respect for the other members of this committee. You will find that we spend a lot of time together. Probably we spend more time together than you will spend with your families during the week. And we do become a family. And everybody here comes from different backgrounds. We all have different perspectives. We all have different life experiences. Respect where everyone is at and where they come from. And I think that's it, except for Topper.
yeah.
Except for Topper. I will say that, just personally, and I'm willing to put this out there, I am scared to death.
Really?
I am scared to death.
What?
Um,
COVID?
I was not anticipating sitting here.
Oh,
I had a lot to learn. And I still have a lot to learn. And I know that. And I have a lot of strengths, but I have a lot of weaknesses. I'm scared, but I'm going to do this. And I hope that when I fail and I fall down, that I know that I have a lot of people that will pick me up. And I hope that you will offer me grace, and be forgiving and let me know when I have done something incorrect. Like today, I left you all and went out during the fire alarm. And I got out there and I'm like, I just abandoned my whole committee. I don't think I was supposed to do that. So my first
You in
fail.
action, and I have complete confidence in you, and I understand it being scary. I would be terrified too. But but we've got you. And I'm so glad you're in that role, both this whole front table.
Yeah, we all want
Thank you
to
for
right
doing
here.
it. Thank you for doing it.
And all you have to remember is the date. Okay.
Yes,
And
I know.
I'm right here and I will always have the date ready
Okay.
for you.
So if I oftentimes don't know the date, and I
I know.
never understood
That's
where
why I'm
Lori
right
was
here.
getting it from.
We're all gonna make mistakes. And that's the point, is that we're all gonna be in this position of like, that didn't go well, and how we're gonna support each other when we do make mistakes. It's about kindness and respect.
Yes.
And you're gonna be, I've known you now 4 years, and, we came in together on the Zoom land, and it's gonna be steep, but that's okay.
And we have
do it.
We have really important work to do, and we're gonna do it together. It is my most fervent hope that that frankly, everything that comes out of this committee is unanimous. Every single person has a role to play. I know that that will not always happen. I'm going to channel a former representative that sat at the end of the table where, like we were divergent politically, but had deep, deep respect. And I can look at every single piece of legislation that this committee put out that that they were unable to vote for. But I can see in every single, if I look through legislation, I'm like, that was his sentence. And I remember when he brought that up, and we changed it because it made it a better bill. Every single one of us has a role, and it is my hope that what we do in here, that we work together and we come up with the best legislation that we possibly can. Brian.
So I've been studying, for a long time, I've been studying different kinds of leadership, and especially lately, non-hierarchical leadership. And this is a hierarchical organization. And so I think that I appreciate that you're acknowledging that you're going to need everyone's help and being vulnerable about that. And I think that maybe the committee could think about, even though we have to comply with a hierarchy, how do we function in a way that no one person is bearing all the responsibility or duties or all the power, like ways to share it, something to think about. And one thing that's going to be hard for me is going to be perfectly on time, because if you look, even the clocks in the room aren't the exact same time right now. And so then every clock in this building has like a different time, like when I look at it, it's like, see, that one's like 1 minute ahead of this one, I think. And like the clock on my phone is different. So I guess what I'm going to ask for is people's patience about time, because it's hard to be on time. And also when you have 6 different jobs and your phone's constantly ringing and you're like putting out fires, it's hard to be there. I think if we went around, every person could probably think about what is going to be your shortcoming. And so maybe we could all show each other grace and reflect on what is each of our strengths and what are each of our challenges. And then how do we distribute work so that the people who have strengths are taking on what they're good at, and we're not asking someone to do something that they're not good at all the time. It doesn't mean that we can't ask people to do it sometimes, because that's how we grow. But I think we should, I guess what I'm trying to say is I appreciate you modeling vulnerability and humility. And I think we all are going to have our shortcomings, but we're also all going to have our strengths. And as a team, I think we'll function better if we're honest about that. And just, it's like you said, like catching you, I think use the word, or picking you up, use the word. I think we're going to have to do that to for each other at different times. So
Giving grace.
yeah, exactly. And exactly. We're going to do that for each other. So I guess I just wanted to say, I appreciate that.
And okay, I want to talk about one thing that I know is near and dear to you. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was, and this is something that we can work on, and actually what it is I'd like people to think about it for a little bit. I will be completely honest. If you want to see a meltdown of Alyssa Black, go back to when we were doing our guiding principles last 2 years ago, and I sort of lost it on YouTube because I wasn't in agreement with the whole concept of a guiding principle. However, I ended up finding, in confession of the things that you learn about yourself, and giving grace to yourself. I found myself so many times the last 2 years sitting in this seat and going like this and looking at our guiding principles and thinking about what we were listening to or what we were working on at the time, which one of those I identified as, oh, yes, we committed to do that. So we have our guiding principles from 2 years ago where we worked on this. I think Topper and Leslie sort of came out with
A draft.
a draft. And then we as a committee spent a lot of time discussing it, which is when I might have had the meltdown. And so what I'd like people to do is to look at the guiding principles that we currently have that were agreed upon 2 years ago by House Healthcare. See if there's anything in there that you either are not comfortable with or something that you feel is missing. Maybe take a picture of it on your phone.
It's on our website.
It's on our website also. Is it, Kristen, is it still on the website on the bottom? It was always on the bottom of the page.
I could
Just change the session when you're looking at the website if it's not.
Yeah, or
Might have come forward.
we could post to the current session and then when we amend it, we can change it. I didn't know, Topper, because I know that it was your suggestion that we do this. I didn't know if you wanted to go through the full process of redoing
It's not there.
or if you wanted people to think about it.
Yeah, it's not on the website anymore.
Okay, thank you for checking.
Oh, well, I think people should look at it, analyze it, see if you're comfortable with it. And I would not mind being the point person for the information to come back through. I would like to share that responsibility with our other esteemed colleague that was working on it last year. Because I think as a group, the three of us, we did a wonderful job.
Yeah, because it was Joe Andriano, who was on our committee at the time. He ended up moving. So I think there should be a third person. I'm hoping one of the new people.
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to do a collaborative process. Let's collaborate right now.
We could.
Do people feel as though they want to do a collaborative process and redo our guiding principles? Or do people feel like they would like to contemplate the existing guiding principles and then possibly adopt or amend?
Yeah, I think we don't have to, recreate the wheel. This is a pretty good set. So look at them, analyze them, come back if you think any of it should be changed or if you have new ideas that you think we should consider, and then do it as a committee, just like we did last time.
I think that's important because I think just the process of going through them really helped us to internalize them and understand why they're important. And especially for new members, I think that'll be really important to kind of internalize them.
Okay?
Okay,
Was Topper going to say something else, or was that what you
we'll
wanted
get
to
them
say?
posted on the committee website.
Yeah, I was going
Alright.
to say something.
I'm curious.
Yeah, were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you have a couple things you said. So I'm.
One of them
I'm all
was
set.
that, and you got it. Fairly eloquently, I might say.
Better than the first time.
Yeah, right. Cell phones. When we're in the room, we should make sure that they're on at least vibrate
Mhm.
so that they don't ring in front of somebody that's steps time. So either turn them off or have them on vibrate.
Mhm.
And something,
Can I add something to that too? We have a committee thread. So the question is, how is that used? And on I'm missing 3 members. So I'd love to get the numbers so that I can have a full list.
Let's not do that on phone call.
No.
Yes, let's not do that.
I-
But
I'm just
I will
bringing it up.
say that it should be used strictly to convey just simple information such as
Practical and
Yeah.
scheduling. No, where are you? I'm
Exactly.
late, that kind just to be clear, but that it's very useful.
And speaking of cell phones, just so people know, when you see me on my phone, it's often reading the materials of the witness. Because I use my phone a lot for that. So when I'm doing, just because some people like might think I'm like playing a game or something, but often when I'm doing this and the witness is talking, I'm actually looking at what they have on the screen or I'm skipping ahead. So I also use check email. But I just want people to know that because I don't think a lot of people use their phone that way. And just so they know, like when I'm looking at my phone, I mean, yeah, I may be checking text messages or emails, but sometimes often when a witness is speaking, if it's not on my computer, it's on my phone, their presentation. So I just want people to know that now so that if you ever have doubts about it though, off the record, you can say to me, why were you on your phone? And I'm happy to talk with you about it.
Yeah.
Even though it's really not your business, if it's that upsetting to you, I'm happy to talk with you about it.
And I will say you will see me doing the same thing and mainly because I have vision issues with certain distances. So oftentimes when somebody has up on the screen a graph, I can't actually see it there and I can't blow it up on my computer. So anytime you see me basically with my glasses on top of my head and my phone this close to me, it's because I'm studying something
Right,
that.
exactly. That's what I was getting at too. It's
So
not like.
I do that a lot.
I think it's safe to say we're all over 40 in here, so.
Yes. Yeah, and let's let Papa
Okay.
finish up her.
The other thing is, and we just experienced it right now. When somebody's talking in the committee, don't interrupt. Let them finish what they're gonna say. She runs the committee. If she's not here, we'll run the committee. But it's important to people because they do want to say something. And if you put your hand up, it brings organization to the discussion. She will tell you it's your turn. That way there, we're not interrupting each other. And then, because one of the worst things you can do is interrupt somebody when they're saying something. They get really pissed off. And you don't want to do that to your friends. And it will help you later on as we go through these bills. Because some of them get pretty heavy. And you want to say something, you might blurt it out. It takes away from what the other person's saying. And if Debbie says something and I'm talking, I'm going to lose my train of thought maybe, and maybe the committee will. So it's important to keep that organization and let the chair run the committee.
Yeah, and I will, so I like to keep just a note, a Post-it note next to me. And so when you have a question, first, we'll make the determination, particularly with whatever witness we have, whether or not they would like questions as we're going through, or whether they would like to continue and give their entire presentation or a segment of their presentation before they take questions. If you have a question, put your hand up. Don't blurt out questions. And if we're not taking questions at that moment, if you see me acknowledge you, give you a nod, that means I'm writing your name down. So you can put your hand down. So we're not all sitting here like that, okay? So I think Leslie's next. I don't have my little, so I'm having to remember the order.
I really appreciate this conversation. I'm a blurter. I get into trouble. I've been in trouble. The former chair has been very kind and I'm trying, and I think I've come far along. But thank you for those ground rules, and I appreciate your kindness as I work on it.
All right.
I want to raise awareness of, there are many times witnesses will be testifying remotely. And so that's why you'll see my name tag is pointed toward the camera. You can't even see it now anyway. So we might need to fix the camera.
I think it's where the,
So we'll want to make sure that our name tags are visible. And just be aware that you have to have people testifying here in the chair, but when they're testifying remotely, even if we have to do some work or we're looking at the bill, or this person's testimony on our computers, try to orient your angle of attention toward acknowledging that there's a person in the ether over there, but they're a real person, and amplifying what you're saying about how scary it is to be, for many people to be a witness. Oh, let's not be aware of how you're getting your attention. And it is helpful to like turn towards the person and.
When you say turn towards a person, you gotta look at.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so when somebody's on
Yeah.
and you acknowledge them, that is the camera that they
Yes.
see, that's the forward. So it may seem like if you're looking up at the screen, you're looking at them, but it's
No.
really not, they're getting the side view of
So you
you.
can see me.
There,
I don't see mine.
put it there. See, yes. So I'm trying not to
Oh,
interrupt.
your name.
I'm trying to help while it's like, see, now you can see. I was trying to figure it out, sorry.
Leslie, did you have one more thing?
No,
And I just wanted to,
But Penny said, because I find this really hard. It's here on top of the table, but when you're here, are you looking here? Or are you looking there?
Yeah.
And I've never really figured it out, so I wouldn't mind a little coaching from someone who understands this technology.
Just look at that little eye right there.
Yeah, but it's very bizarre.
it's hard to. So next week,
Yes.
we are starting with, Healthcare 101. Nolan has been working diligently on updating and making new pictures and slide PowerPoints, and I'm hoping for some new original content jokes. Am I gonna get a new one? Yeah. And I know for returning members that it may seem like, why do I have to do Healthcare 101? But it is not, even I learn and refresh, and you can't know everything, and you certainly forget. So we're gonna start with basic Healthcare 101, Medicaid 101. Katie and Jen are going to come in and sort of give a little bit of Ledge Council 101. Additionally, I think we'll decide that next week. And then I think we're going to do Insurance 101. And it's my hope that next week, at the end of the week, we will have a couple of the advocates, representatives of various organizations that we deal with here a lot, come in and introduce themselves. And then the week after that, we'll get more into detail on some things. And then we'll start talking about bills. For new members, that's the wall. When bills are read for the
There's
first.
something on it.
There's
Sorry,
something, we got a bill, we got a bill yesterday. So when when we have first reading on the floor and bills are introduced and the speaker commits them to a committee, then they come up and we have then possession of that bill. And if we decide that we'd like to work on it, then we take it off the wall. I'm looking over to Ledge Council.
It's sort of conceptual, you don't typically.
Yeah, you don't actually go and take the tax out. And then once we voted something out, then it goes over onto our out of committee. And something which I almost wish I had taken a picture of it last year, to my hope that we have consensus and that we do important work. At the end of the last session, every single bill on our out of committee, every single last bill, except for one, which I know parts of it got taken and put in other places, every single bill on there had an act number next to it, which meant that everything we worked on out of this committee went through House, Senate, went to the governor, and became law.
In money committees.
And money committees. Because if things have money attached to them or fees, they leave our committee and then they go to either appropriations or ways and means. And then they have to vote them out. So that was really proud. I mean, I think it's testament to what our committee does, which is important work, and that we work together really well, and that. So anyways, I think I'm done for the day. And if everybody would like to get an early start heading home, then unless there's anything anyone else has.
Can new members, well, just a second, I have a quick question after everybody's done.